Hi guys, this is Stephanie. It's Friday, June 23rd. We're just moving along nice and easy. So, as we know, the biggest topic this week has been the submersible sub that we're just learning out yesterday that everyone on board had died because it was presumed that this sub suffered an implosion on Sunday. So emotions are high, a lot of people are saddened by this, but my question is, if the passengers had checked out the CEO's comments on prior interviews and videos, would they have gone on the sub? More when we come back, but first I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers and to those just visiting my channel for the first time. If you find something that resonates with you, then please consider unsubscribing. When you subscribe, don't forget to share. We'll be right back with more. So anyways, when I first learned about this submersible sub was when my girlfriend told me about it. She sent me a text and she says, hey, there's a small submarine with 5 people on it and it's missing. And so I immediately went on to YouTube and I connected to a news channel. And that's where I learned that there's this sub that's making its way down to the Titanic with people who had paid $250,000 to get a glimpse or probably shoot some videos of the Titanic. I understand what some excitement could be to be in the same waters, the same location as the Titanic. But I must say, before James Cameron made the Titanic movie, it really wasn't that popular. And the Titanic wasn't discovered in its location off of Nova Scotia or wherever it is all those years until the 1980s. That's when somebody first got down in the submarine and went down to what is it, 3,000 feet? No, 13,500 feet. Yeah, but after the movie was done, it got more popularity and people started to discover and learn things about the Titanic that they never knew. And they started researching on the web and seeing pictures of the hull in the waters at 13,000 feet where there's no light. Light does not reach down that far. And fishes don't swim down that far. The pressure is so great. But anyways, right from Sunday when I learned that the submarine was missing, I followed it pretty much every day up until Thursday, yesterday. Yesterday evening, I found out that that the Navy heard an implosion on Sunday, but the buoys were not launched by planes until a day later. By that time, it already imploded, and there's no way that those equipment that pick up sounds in the water would have heard anything. But I'm still in shock and awe, because I thought maybe there was a chance that they could have survived, or at least hung in there, tried to utilize their oxygen as conservatively as they can. I thought maybe there's a chance, we don't know. And of course, when you're watching the news on it, you start hearing different views and different opinions from people. And you start hearing from the professional people who know a lot about oceanography and diving down to those depths, and also those people who have a strong connection with a Titanic ship that sunk in 1912. I also learned a lot too. When that little submarine was lost, I followed it every day, hour by hour. Okay? It was captivating, it was intriguing. You know, every one of those people on that submersible had a life, have a story, and the reasons why they went. A majority of the people were touched that this 19-year-old boy really didn't want to go. He was frightened. And because it was Father's Day, he also wanted to please him, but he was nervous. It's not someplace that he would have gone by himself. So I could imagine that his father must have tried to make everything seem positive and nothing was going to happen. And why not? That same submersible went down to the Titanic in 2022 and 2020 and 2021 with no problems. And just because it went there twice before with no problems, that might have given a lot of people encouragement. It might have made those people that went on Sunday more encouraging. And some of those people, this was their third time going. Like the French guy who's popular with the Titanic, okay? And the billionaire who is an adventurist. Wow. Like I said, each one of them had a story. My question is this: if some of those people had seen the video of the CEO, the captain of the submersible, at those interviews when he was saying that he's not really about safety, you know, he threw caution to the wind. From watching different reporters talking about the importance of safety and having backup protocols, and this little thing not having much protocol at all, and just by the design of this and the materials that they used was off-the-shelf items, like the carbon fiber body that it had, and then the titanium hull. You know, titanium is made of fabric. I'm sorry, carbon fiber is made of fabric. In fact, and when that carbon fiber fabric is put into a mold and wrapped and baked at thousands of degrees for a long time, when it hardens, it's stronger than steel, supposedly. But it's still very plasticky. It's still very plasticky. the carbon weaves can still bend. And when you put this around titanium material or anything that's material made of steel, that body of carbon fiber is still gonna flex. All right, it's still gonna flex. And at the points where they flex with the steel, there could be a weakness there. I'm no engineer by any means. I don't know squat. And I just want to say that this is just my opinion. All right? But when you see someone or who's got a company run by experience, even though they might have had PhDs in engineering, and you still got to think, look at the bare necessities on this mini submarine. It's not a submarine, but they had nothing. You sit on a platform, you have a little area where you go poop, and one of the things that really got people thinking was the steering device was nothing more than a PlayStation device, you know, wired to flat screens and softwares. Wow. I can't even begin to imagine what it was like, because they knew something was wrong and something was going to happen when they sent a distress signal letting them know that they lost communication and they'd lost power or whatever they texted. That was at that moment that things were going bad. Things were going bad. It's horrible. It's horrible. And from learning about implosions in submarines or containers that's submerged in incredible depths where the pressure is 480 pounds per square inch, it's phenomenal. Oh my God. You know, all I can think of in my mind, seeing these people's bodies being torn up, you know, in a millisecond. From listening to professionals talk about the effects of being in a device like that, in a submarine like that, in deep waters where pressure is so great, leads me to believe that they didn't even know what hit them. They don't even know what hit them. I can't even imagine to know what they felt like or what they saw happening. It's just horrible, just horrible. If I were in their shoes and if I caught the video of the CEO talking in the manner that he was, I would have never gone on anything. I don't care what it was that he created. I don't care if it's a roller coaster. I don't care if it's a high-tech new type of roller coaster that people go on at amusement parks. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. But people take a chance. You can't compare that with driving. Okay? Vehicles today have airbags. Cars today far exceeds safety that it did when the automobiles were first created. You got sensors on cars that tell you there's a car beside you or a car behind you. Cars today will break themselves if you fall asleep behind the wheel. We have cars now that drive themselves, practically. So how can that CEO compare his creation with automobiles. He said, if you're going to worry about safety in your life, don't bother getting out of bed and don't plan on driving your car. He compared what he was doing with daily living, things we do every day. Most of us have to get up early in the morning to drive to work in traffic. Yes, accidents happen every year, every day with automobiles. Every day, people are dying in vehicles. Okay? And not every day are people dying in submersibles. But the writing on this thing was on the wall. Just the waivers that you have to sign before you go on the submersible was enough to scare the shit out of you. Saying that that's a experimental submersible and that you can lose your life. The word experimental, that means that this thing was not tested. And it wasn't tested. It used inferior materials like lighting on the ceiling and handles from a hardware store. Wow. People have died on roller coasters, but people go on them every single day. And every single day, when that happens, they shut them down and they investigate, or they make safer roller coasters. Roller coasters of today are not like the roller coasters of back in 1920s or whatever, that were on wooden tracks and had no safety harness that comes over your head. Yeah, some parks still make wooden roller coasters, but they're not at the height of the steel ones for safety purposes. Can you imagine being down 12,000 feet in the water, having all that weight on top of you and squeezing on the submersible all around it that you're in? Knowing that anything that goes wrong, any weaknesses, you may just might as well say, this is my burial right here. Unbelievable. I don't have fancy videos or pictures of this because I'm sure you've seen it. Everybody has seen the news. Everybody has following this news. And even though we've discovered that they've passed away, we're still talking about it. It's still on the news. This is one of those things that years down the road, someone's going to create a movie about it. Somebody's going to create a movie about it. It was a tragedy when the Titanic sank after it hit an iceberg. That also was a mistake by the captain. He wasn't listening. He had instructions on a piece of paper folded on his jacket pocket, and he wasn't going to adhere to it. He was just going to ignore it and pull full steam ahead in total darkness, and sure enough, hit an iceberg. And within 2 hours, that thing was in the bottom of the ocean. And 1,400 people perished. When they made the Titanic movie, it probably made billions of dollars. That movie was a hit. What was it? 3.5 hours long? And the movie was so realistic that it ignited all these people they became interested on the Titanic. And knowing that this little submarine is going down so they can see the Titanic, caught everybody's attention when they found out it was lost. You know? Unbelievable. And yesterday, when I was watching the news, I found out that the CEO of the company who made the Submersible, his wife has a direct ties with people who died on the Titanic. His wife had a lineage to some of the people that perished on the Titanic. The couple that stayed in their bunks, in their bed, while the boat was sinking, so they can let other people leave before them unhindered, died on that ship. So, if you were a CEO and your wife had ties to the people that died in the Titanic, and you know stories about the Titanic, why it sank, because the captain was negligent, wouldn't you take better care of the people riding on your submersible? Didn't your wife tell you have more safety features on your submersible so people don't lose their lives? But you can see the attitude and the arrogance that kept him from adhering to regulations pertaining to designs and safety of submersibles. I mean, some of the stuff is common sense. Some of the stuff is common sense. I don't know. I don't know. And because of his decisions, his life's gone, and the four of the people who were on the submersible are all dead. And their families are left behind to deal with this. A lot of people have said that these people were heroes. Yeah. Because they knew of the dangers and they still went. That 19-year-old boy didn't have to go, but he decided to go last minute. He was scared. There was also another passenger that had signed up to go, and he was next in line, and at the last minute he backed away. They interviewed him yesterday. This guy looked bewildered. He was grateful that he didn't step in that submersible. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Every time somebody goes skydiving, as safe as it seems, there's a chance that something can go wrong. There's something that can go wrong. There's always a chance that something can go wrong. I'm still behooved by this. I'm really, really behooved by this. But anyway, I'm just expressing my own thoughts, my own feelings, my take on learning about this. Remember, I'm not an engineer. I don't know nothing about submarines or submersibles. I don't know anything about deep sea explorations. I don't know nothing. All I know is that if Jacques Cousteau was alive, he would have never gone. So anyways, I hope that these people rest in peace and that their families could cope one day with their loss and see it for what it really was, that at least 4 of the people were just following something that they love to do. I don't think the 19-year-old boy, this was his dream. I think basically he was just trying to make his father happy on Father's Day, and he probably felt pressure to go. But nonetheless, in my book, he's a hero, because if my father was on the submersible, I would tell him and ask him and beg him not to go on it. But I couldn't stop him. But you know what? I'm never going to put my foot on anything that's just experimental. I hope you guys have a nice Friday, and I'll be seeing you on the next video.
Something